What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our Big Ten football channel. It's time for our Week 5 power rankings as we head into Week 5 of the 2019 college football season. We're starting to get into conference play now. We saw a few conference games last week. We're starting to also learn a little bit more about these teams, but it's still early. And I think if you look at our power rankings this week and then you come back at the end of the season, I think there's still going to be a pretty big shakeup as we start to learn more and more about these teams. More games are played, upsets happen, and all the things that go along with a college football season happen. So keep that in mind. But as of right now, this is how we have these teams ranked. Number 14 is Rutgers. I still think this is the worst team in the Big Ten. Illinois has not looked very good, but Rutgers, I think, still has to take that bottom spot at number 14. They are 1-2 on the season, 0-1 in the conference after that loss to Iowa a couple of weeks ago. They lose to Boston College 30-16. Not a horrible performance here. Boston College is not a bad football team. Of course, Kansas did beat Boston College, but not much to say about this game. Rutgers still has a long way to go before they're a competitive team here in the Big Ten. So they will be number 14, and just mentioned the team that is at number 13, and that is Illinois. Illinois continues to struggle. They looked good early against Nebraska, had a lead. They were up, I think, 21-14 at halftime. Nebraska had a big fourth quarter, outscored on 15-3. It really looked like Illinois was going to win this game. Reggie Corbin had a big day, 134 yards on the ground, but Nebraska was able to come from behind and get the win. This was a pretty wild finish here, and Illinois struggling so far this season. They lost to Eastern Michigan out of a Group of 5 team as well. We'll see if they can get it turned around. So far, I've been a little bit disappointed with Illinois. I thought they might be a little bit better than this, but really, how good's Nebraska? If Nebraska turns out to be really good, then that was a pretty good game out of Illinois to at least take them down to the wire. Number 12 is Indiana. They had a 38-3 win over UConn this week, so really not playing anyone great. Peyton Ramsey back in at quarterback. He threw for almost 250 yards. It seems like they have a carousel going there at that quarterback position each game. It's someone different. So we'll see if they can maybe settle in on that. And again, time will tell what that quarterback position is going to look like for Indiana. But this was an easy win for them. UConn is horrible. No surprise that they won easily. But we'll see. Is Indiana a team that's going to be able to challenge teams in the Big Ten, or are they going to get steamrolled like they did against Miami? Against Ohio State. That is the big question there. Number 11 is Minnesota. The Golden Gophers are 3-0, but just barely. I mean, all three of their games have been really close. They've found ways to win them, though, and that's really all that matters at this point. You head into conference play 3-0. If you can get a couple more wins going here, all of a sudden Minnesota is a top 25 team and maybe even a player in the Big Ten West. Sometimes, early teams that struggle early in the year but still find a way to win, sometimes they'll be able to kind of build off of that and get better and get some confidence and wind up having a pretty good year. So don't count Minnesota out just yet. Nebraska is at number 10. They had a win over Illinois, 42-38. Just mentioned how Illinois looked like they were going to win that game, but they really got on the back of Adrian Martinez once again. This kid is just fantastic. Had a great year as a freshman last year. He's following that up with another solid year this year as a sophomore, and they have a big game coming up with Ohio State. We're going to find out which Nebraska team is going to show up. The team that played the first half against Colorado, first half against Illinois, or the fourth quarter against Illinois, the second half of Colorado. I mean, this team has been so inconsistent, and that's the one problem, I think, for the Cornhuskers, but they have potential. They have a lot of potential. Number 9 is Northwestern, a team that has really struggled so far this season. I actually picked them to beat Michigan State last week. I thought they would maybe get things turned around, but they weren't able to do that. Really couldn't do much offensively. Couldn't do much against Stanford either. So this Northwestern offense is really, really struggling right now. They're 1-2 on the season, 0-1 in the Big Ten. Defense has been okay for them, but the offense, I'll tell you what, they've got to get that going, or they're going to be in big trouble, and they won't make a bowl game this season. Purdue is at number 8. They are 1-2 on the season. They had a bye week this past week. They had the win over Vanderbilt. I think that was a couple of weeks ago. That was an impressive performance. Still kind of trying to figure out how good this Purdue team is. Of course, early on they lose to Nevada in week 1. and they were blown out by TCU. I think actually TCU was a couple of weeks ago. We didn't do our power rankings last week. We missed week 4 on all the conference channels, but we will be back doing this now, and we will do this each and every week, or at least that's the plan, unless something happens. So you can look forward to those videos on Monday or sometimes on Tuesday. Okay, let's move on now to number 7. That is Maryland. They had a bye week this week. Last time we talked about them, they were undefeated. They just beat Syracuse, but a couple of weeks ago, they lose to Temple, and then Temple goes and loses to, I believe it was Buffalo. So maybe Temple's not that great, and that makes the Maryland loss to Temple look a lot worse. And you just have to wonder, did they get overconfident, or are they really just not that good? I think we're gonna find out very soon about Maryland. Actually, probably Friday night. They're gonna play Penn State. We're gonna find out if Maryland is a top 25 caliber team, or if they're still if they have a long ways to go. And I think we'll find out a lot about that on Friday night. Number 6 is Michigan. They take a tumble after getting blown out by Wisconsin. There was just nothing really good in this game for the Wolverines. They looked horrible offensively. Defensively, they gave up 28 points in the first half to Wisconsin, who's not necessarily they have a great offense, don't get me wrong, but they're not a team that's going to throw it 50 times a game and score 70 points a game. To give up 28 points in that first half, that was pretty rough, and they are searching for answers right now. Don't have the run game that they typically have. Shea Patterson has been struggling. What will the answer be for Michigan? They've got to get it turned around quick, or this season's going to be a disaster. Number 5 is Michigan State. They had a very, very impressive performance against Northwestern, winning it 31-10. You kind of scratch your head. How did they play so poorly against Arizona State and then play so well against Northwestern? This game was on the road. Maybe they just needed to get away from home, get some of the pressure off. I don't know, but they looked very good in this game. Brian Lewerke looked pretty solid, and the defense once again was phenomenal. That's one thing you can count on each and every week with Michigan State is their defense, and that's why I think they can play with anyone in the country. Even if the offense isn't great, they're going to be able to slow down most of these offenses. Number 4 is Iowa. Hawkeyes are 3-0, 1-0 in the Big Ten. They had a bye week this past weekend. They have that one over Rutgers. They beat Iowa State. That was a huge win for them. And so right now it kind of feels like it's Iowa or Wisconsin in the Big Ten West. I realize there is a long ways to go and things could change, but looking at it right now, those appear to be the teams that have emerged. We'll see if Iowa, how they play once they get into conference play now. I think they have a game against Michigan in a couple of weeks. That'll be a big test for them, and that'll be a big game really for both teams. Looking forward to that one. But let's move on now to number 3. That is Penn State. They are 3-0. They had a bye week this past week. They struggled against Pitt, only won that game by 7, and you start to say, well, maybe Penn State's not that good, but then Pittsburgh goes out and beats UCF. So the twists and turns of this season that we've already seen, it's just been wild, and we just don't know about Penn State. I mean, honestly, we don't know how good this team is. We'll find out a lot about them against Maryland this coming Friday, but we don't know a lot about Maryland either. So it may take a few more games before we really find out if Penn State is, a playoff contender, a team that has a chance to knock off Ohio State, or is this a team that is a good, solid top 15 team, but maybe not quite to that level. Number 2 is Wisconsin. Very impressive performance against Michigan. Considered putting them at number 1, but I'm going to go ahead and keep the Buckeyes there. But Wisconsin 3-0 now, 1-0 in the Big Ten after that just beatdown of Michigan. What a performance. I mean, you can't say enough about this team. The first 2 games of the season for them, they pitched shutouts against FBS teams. I said this in a comment to another person that I don't think that anyone in the country has done that. They have 2 FBS wins where they had shutouts. Maybe someone else has, and I'm overlooking it, but Wisconsin has been very impressive on both sides of the ball, and I think they could give our number 1 team a real fight if they wind up meeting in the Big Ten championship game, and right now it looks likely. But yes, Ohio State still number 1, put up 76 points against Miami of Ohio. Not a horrible team. It's not like they were playing, an FCS team. They scored 42 points in the second quarter of this game. Just a crazy performance by the Buckeyes. And that offense is rolling. Got off to a little bit of a slow start, but the defense is playing well for them also. Ohio State looks very dangerous right now, and they look like a legitimate threat to Clemson and Alabama on the national scene as well. So they'll be number 1 for now. We'll see how they look after that Nebraska game. You guys can give me your power rankings down in the comments below, or give me any thoughts on my power rankings. What do you like? What do you dislike? What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? Anything you want to add, feel free to do that. But thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more here on our Big Ten football channel.